turkey pepperoni. I do a recipe with, it's a macaroni and cheese lasagna, and it has, you make the layers, and it has pepperoni layered in with it. But the first couple of times I made it for a client of mine, it was very greasy. So we switched to the turkey pepperoni, and I've never had a problem with it since. Turkey pepperoni costs about the same thing. You get the same size package. Hormel makes it, and it's in the same, right there with the pepperonis. So give that a shot. And honestly, maybe on pizza you would notice a taste difference, but in something like this, you'll never notice it. How many of you have ever done like a baked brie or a baked cream cheese? There was a recipe that was very popular for about 5 years that you wrap the cream cheese in puff pastry or phyllo dough, you put dill or something on it, and then you baked it and you spread it on bread. Brie has now become fairly recently priced. Most of the store brands I know, like Giant Eagle has their Market Fresh brand, or whatever it is, Market Street, where it is. Acme carries a brand of it that's reasonable. You want to look for rounds about like this. Any bigger than that, just gets overpowering. You don't ever eat it all. It's a little too much.
How much does it weigh?
How much does it weigh? This is about 8 ounces. Because they're fairly thick.
That look, the 8 ounces look big with them.
Yeah. Like this? No.
Yeah.
This one has, we use apricot preserves, hazelnuts, and I tend to serve it with apples, pear slices, and like French bread, toasted French bread slices. If you don't like apricots, use raspberry. If you don't like hazelnuts, use walnuts. If you like, more of like an apple flavor, you can use an apple, an apple butter. You can do this with numerous things. If you have like a hot pepper jelly at home that you make, Mom, like you made?
I'm sorry.
The hot pepper jelly that you did? Did I need the recipe for?
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it done.
No, it's okay. I rarely call anybody else Mom, so. If you have, sometimes we can get a nice, some of the specialty stores carry like a cherry preserves. That's very nice, a plum preserves. Anything like that that's got a good hearty flavor, but isn't too overly sweet. Because you want some sweetness, but the tartness of the brie will even it out. And like I said, if you don't like hazelnuts, use walnuts. If you don't like walnuts, use almonds. It's up to you. Kind of play with it. The other thing you can do with this is add some fresh herbs at the end. Sprinkle them on top. Rosemary goes well with brie. Thyme goes well with brie. Once you have this all going, sprinkle it on top. It'll give you just another layer of flavor. Simple and easy, though.
These two recipes, do they reheat well? Like if you're going a long distance, could you pop them back in the oven for a few minutes and it would be okay? Or
The first one, the baked onion dip, would be fine.
okay,
You can pop it in the microwave, which is what I may end up doing here if it's cooled down too much.
okay,
The second one, I would wait and bake it there.
okay.
If you could.
Like so you could assemble it on just
Right. The only reason I would do that is because sometimes your stuff will start to pour over the sides and you'll lose a lot of it. If you bake it, as soon as you make it, your jam and everything stays right on top. And you don't want the brie to start to soften up, and then as it gets cold, it's just like Velveeta. It gets really firm. So you kind of got to keep it a little. How many people make a beer, or like a cheesy beer soup, cheese beer dip? This is a favorite, like game day favorite right here. Day after Thanksgiving, And you don't have to use beer in this. You can use milk if you want. Because the beer, I just watched a show about this. I've been asked 1,000 times how much alcohol cooks off when you cook food. Did anybody watch Alton Brown when he talks about this? Oh good, so I'm the only one, so it's new information to everybody.
You just make it up as you go along.
I do, actually. No. Some days I get here, I don't prepare any notes. I don't do anything. So when I get here, it's all off the cuff. I find I do better that way. If I have notes, I get lost and I get ahead of myself. Alton Brown, is that Dad? Hi, Dad.
Oh, we can go, thank you.
Alton Brown. Thank you for the cup. Oh, well. Dads know that, trust me. Alton Brown, they did some research on how much alcohol actually cooks off over the amount of time you cook. And a lot of people will tell you, oh, throw that wine in there, the alcohol will cook off, it'll be fine. That's not necessarily the case. Once we saw this, my husband and I were both intrigued. Once we saw this snippet on the Alton Brown show, we went and actually looked into it. In the first 15 minutes after you add, especially something like a tomato sauce where you're adding a cup, that significant amount of alcohol, within the first 15 minutes, only about 10 to 15% of the alcohol actually burns off. To get 95% of the alcohol out of your food product would take you over 2 hours.
Wow.
So bear that in mind when you're serving food to kids, pregnant women.
40 years too late?
Exactly. I mean, we all turned out just fine. A little nip here and that, never heard of it. A lot of the times when you're making something where it's a sauce, to go over chicken and pork, we're only using a small amount. So the amount itself, spread out over 8 people, or 4 people, isn't enough to hurt you, especially with kids, because kids really eat that stuff. If you have one like mine. So, you just kind of have to watch, especially when you're thinking, if you've made that tomato sauce and you forgot to put it in, and you're like, I'll throw it at the end, you really kind of got to keep an eye on it. Especially, too, like some people, their medication is affected by alcohol. So, just as kind of a sideline bit of information there.
When you flambe, it did burn off.
Actually,
Yeah?
no. Because we looked into that too, because my husband's like, oh, well, like with banana foster, you should be fine because you're burning it off. No, you actually do increase the amount that is burned off by about 10% over the course of time, but you don't burn it all. What you burn is the highest concentration of alcohol. If you have ever made banana foster, you can use rum or you can use banana extract. When you use rum, it flames up very nicely because rum has a higher alcohol content. That's not to say you're burning off all the alcohol, you're burning off that excess kind of unused alcohol. If you use like a banana liqueur, you'll never get a flame on it no matter how hard you try. You just hold your lighter up over it. That's the best you're going to do. Because the alcohol level is so low. So in that instance, you're not burning off a thing. For those of you that are new, I'm very laid back. How many of you do roasted eggplant?
No, but I'm thinking about it.
Were any of you, or have any of you been in my class in the summer where we do the vegetarian class, where we did the roasted vegetable dip? Those are the eggplants with the pita chips. This recipe is very similar to that. Love this recipe. Eggplant, if you put them in the oven, you can put them with some garlic, lemon juice, olive oil, whatever you want. Put them in the oven and let them roast until they turn a nice mahogany color. Just let them go. Even though they're a soft-fleshed vegetable, you want to let them go. The longer they roast, the sweeter they'll get, the natural sugars will come out more, they'll pick up great flavor. Puree it up in your food processor or chop it up, a little bit of parsley, that's it. Eggplant gets a lot of great flavor when you let it go, so you don't need any added, cream cheese, anything like that in there with it. Now, if you like cream cheese, feel free to add it, but you don't have to. This is a nice dip all on its own. You can also adapt this to any vegetables you have. Say you have an eggplant, you got a couple zucchinis, whatever. Roast it all, puree it all, gives you a nice fresh dip that you can serve warm or cold. You can add a little Parmesan cheese to this, you can put it over goat cheese, completely up to you. How many of you are horseradish fans? Man, more people than I ever expect. It's like when I say, how many of you like Brussels sprouts? And like every hand in the room goes up and I'm like, oh, apparently I'm the only one. A little tip about horseradish, some of you have heard it before, horseradish and ginger. If you were to literally pull a horseradish fruit right out of the ground and chew through it, it would taste like a potato, a raw potato. What causes horseradish and ginger to have their flavor is when they are in contact with metal. The enzymes in the metal react with the enzymes in the plant, in the root, and that's what causes the sharpness of the flavor. It's actually an oxidization process. Just like tarnishing silver. Same thing. So, most of the time we don't have horseradish fruit around here. Sometimes you can find it in farmers markets. But normally you can buy it at the store. They have a prepared horseradish sauce, which is horseradish and sour cream mixed together. And they have prepared horseradish, which is just grated horseradish and a little bit of liquid. This recipe you could use either. The prepared horseradish sauce is a little milder than regular extra strong horseradish. Just depends on what you like. Bacon is always great with horseradish. Chives. This one uses cheddar cheese and sour cream and cream cheese. So it's not the best for your diet, but it's the holiday season. I haven't gained a pound yet, so I don't care. The one thing with this, it would be really good if you had it, you say you were doing filet for dinner, or if you did like a beef tenderloin, it would make a nice, kind of little bit of scoop on there. It gives you good flavor. So it would be nice with that as well. You could use it as kind of a side dish type thing.